thing that we thought. We knew that Mike wasn't an aggressor. We knew that he was unarmed. And as you can see, the video that we saw is very telling. And you know, it's just sad that so much is going on and so little is being done in the pursuit of justice for Mike Ramos and Brenda Ramos, the mother of Mike Ramos. So I'm gonna let a few people talk. We have first, I want to let everybody know that this is a combined effort between Austin Justice Coalition, the Black Leaders Collective, Black Austin Coalition, Just Liberty, Texas Fair Defense Project, LULAC District 7, and Arte, Texas. And some of us are here today. Some people couldn't make it, and some people have COVID concerns, of course. But first, I think it's fitting that we start with the mother, Brenda Ramos, so you can hear from her, and then we're all going to talk about some next steps and some things that we saw in the video that was really disturbing and stood out to us. So at this time, I'm going to invite Ms. Ramos to speak.
What's your name, please? Your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Chaz Moore, Executive Director and founder of the Austin Justice Coalition.
Hello, my name is Brenda Ramos, Mike Ramos' mother. And, excuse me, but I don't feel very good. I saw the video last night, and I'm kind of tore up, and I don't feel good right now. I want to talk about the 8th Armed Police Officer who showed up in broad daylight at an apartment complex on Pleasant Valley where many residents were outdoors and near the scene, answering all callers. What's this? Incidents complaint. Okay. Had him surrounded. The officers instigated the situation from the moment they got there, from shouting demands to threats to impacts, while aiming rifles at him while his hands were up. He was unarmed. His hands were up. He raised his shirt. 2, he had no weapon. When he got shot, he was driving slowly away to the right from ad officers down to a short dead-end road. He just went into the dumpster. There was nowhere for him to go. That's a sign from a man of thinking nothing but survival. They didn't have to tell him the way they did. From his head down to his back. That hurts me what they did to my son. I could have still had him here today. There was other ways. But the way they did my son, and I'm gonna say this, at the funeral home I was unable to see my son because they messed his body up so bad. Like I said, I had to bring a hat. I demanded surgery because I want to see my only child, my baby. So he had surgery in his face. And he had nothing right here. That's why I had to bring a cap. I'm just hurt. I'm very hurt. What they did to him, how they did to him. To me, they murdered, tortured, and executed my son. Now I have no one. I lost my family. I'm sorry, but I don't feel good right now. Thank you.
All right, next we have Bertha Delegado, who is part of Arte, Texas, and then after Bertha we'll have Frank Ortega, from LULAC District 7. And then after that, we have Kathy Mitchell from Just Liberty, and then I'll close it up.
Hello, my name is Bertha Rendon Delgado. I am a founder, executive director of APD Texas. I'm also a community activist and advocate here in our city. And as you just seen the testimony of Mrs. Ramos, the devastation that she is going through and the whole world is going through right now as that video was released, it is our obligation to announce publicly that Austin Police Department has not just lost control of their force, but are not following the policy and the laws that we have set for them. The de-escalation situation, a protocol that should have been in place for them to have escalated this to a no-killing situation. The fact that this officer, Christopher Taylor, had done this before last year and continues to do this today in 2020 is a problem. It is an issue. And if you're going to keep these type of individuals in your force, and we're supposed to trust you, APD, it is not going to happen. We are having an issue here that we need the mayor, the Texas governor, and the state to take control, because Austin Police Department is not taking us serious. We have had demonstrations in the last couple of months here in our city. We have lost lives. People have been hurt and people have been killed. What else is it going to take, Austin, Texas, for us to take action and move? How many more lives have to be killed from Austin Police Department here in Austin, Texas? We are tired. Enough is enough. Minorities, communities that have been oppressed by the system, that have been incarcerated over and over and over. What had happened to Mike Ramos is unacceptable, and it is uncalled for, and it is injustice, and we are asking for an arrest to be made immediately. We will not be sitting here waiting on the sidelines for the DAs to make their decision. We want action, and we want it now. Community is asking you all, what else do you need? The blood of Mike Ramos is on the hands of APD, and we want Chief Manley to make the arrest of Mr. Taylor, and we want it now, or protests will continue. Justice, no peace will continue in our city and in our nation. And if you all do not want to take this serious, continue to keep our community unsafe, you will reap the repercussions of what we are seeing, of what happened to Mr. Foster. Is an injustice here in our city, and we cannot live like that. My children are not safe. Your children are not safe in these streets. And we are asking APD and mayor, city manager, and everyone to move now, because action is happening now. And we cannot afford anyone else to die in our streets. Thank you.
Do you speak Spanish? Can you make a statement in Spanish?
Off the record.
We'll do it after.
All right.
My name is Frank Ortega, LULAC District 7 Director. I don't know how many times that Ms. Ramos has to go here to press conference and cry. No telling how many times she goes to bed at night and cries because she's missed her son, who typically has been there to help her. How would it feel like the rest of us who lost our loved ones this way? We would continue crying and missing. It takes time. It takes time to heal. That healing hasn't started yet. The DA made a statement that she's putting this off to the next DA. That's not the next DA's responsibility. It is the current DA. She needs to fulfill her promise to get this done this year, not next year. I'm asking Margaret Moore, our current DA, you have an oath, you have a responsibility to do what needs to be done, justice, and justice now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kathy Mitchell with Just Liberty, and I'm here to speak on a very narrow idea that I think we first learned in the video release yesterday, and that is the role of the 911 call. With this, to my knowledge, this is the first time this has been released. It is a known thing that when you have an overly violent police department that does not de-escalate and investigate what's really going on the ground when it arrives on a scene, that police department can be used to harm people. I present the idea, and we don't know, but we certainly want to see it investigated, that the 911 caller who said a number of things that appear to be impossible, it appears to be impossible that he had a gun or was cooking crack in his car. It appears to be impossible that anyone at any distance from the car could have seen anything that was happening in the car at all. It appears impossible that he was both holding a gun to his girlfriend's head and also holding it somewhere else and also doing something that was a little bit unclear. The 911 caller said many things they couldn't possibly have known or seen. This is a known approach. If you want to harm someone in a community where the police department does not have adequate controls in place, you can call the police on them, and they might be killing that person for you. I don't know what this person's motivation was, but we learned a lot in this call. And the most important thing we learned is that we are vulnerable in this community to a caller who calls 911, says some things that are meant to gin up the police, and the police do not correct themselves. We should have it as a routine part of any planning, of any operation, that this person that we're going to speak to might be completely innocent of everything that they are being accused of. None of us are guilty at the front end of a police interaction. We are all innocent until proven guilty. And our system is designed to punish in the front end and let the chips fall where they may later. So we've not only learned something about our police department, but we've learned some disturbing things about how our 911 call system works and how it can be abused. And I believe that as we consider how we're going to move forward, there are a lot of changes that we need to be looking at with 911. Thank you.
So before I wrap up, I also want to thank the artists and Arte Texas for these beautiful murals to make sure that we don't forget Mike Ramos and other victims of police brutality here in Austin. I'll just keep it short and sweet as we close. I think this video really paints the picture of the larger conversation that we've been having over the last couple months. This is why it has to be. It just has to be another way to get public safety, right? Like, let's just say the lady that made the phone call that was false in my opinion. If she was really concerned about this woman in the car, right, there should be another option to call to make sure when these people come up that nobody's harmed. So in the process of trying to protect this lady in the car, she calls 911 and inflicts harm, the ultimate harm, upon Mike Ramos. Right? That's not public safety. That's not keeping anybody safe. And I don't know who that person was, but I'm sure they have to deal with this fact that they call somebody in hopes of protecting somebody else in their perspective, but somebody ultimately winds up dying. And that's what happens 9 times out of 10 when we call APD. Like Bertha said, when you go back to last year, Maurice Da Silva, a person of color, a Latino person of color, who was going through mental health. People called because they knew he needed help. The only person that he was a threat to was himself. He had a knife. He had a knife to his own self. And when Christopher Taylor and other cops of APD show up, he's no longer with us. Right? So that's why people are saying we need to take money from APD and put it somewhere else, because APD's formula is not working. And another thing that needs to be said, before I saw this video, I was very much in the boat that Christopher Taylor deserves to be fired, and I still am. I think every officer that we see in that video, as they huddle up and make this plan, because if you go back and watch that, not once did they talk about any de-escalation tactics. Not once did they talk about what can we do to make sure we can get the best result out of this outcome. They all went in guns blazing from the very moment they pulled into that apartment complex. So Christopher Taylor and all those officers involved should be fired, because they are not part of this public safety conversation that we're having. They had no intention of protecting Mike Ramos or anybody except themselves, if you go back and watch the tape. And last but not least, It's beyond time for Chief Manley to resign or step down or be fired or demoted. He is not the person that this community he's not the person that the black and brown community believes in, right? If you live on the west side of 35, that might be your guy. But on the east side of 35, where there are black, brown, and low-income people, we do not trust that guy. We do not trust the people in his apartment because they do not care about us, as we see in this video. It's made very clear in the video. So like Bertha said, I support all the activists in the streets, and I hope they keep going until we get justice. And what does that look like, right? Like, we have a district attorney that says she's kicking us down the road. Like, how long do we have to wait? Like Frank said, how many more times does Brenda Ramos have to get up here and pour her heart out and think about her son each time before we actually start moving the ball on justice for Mike Ramos? So along with Chief Manley stepping down and going on to do something else, because he's not the man for this job, and along with these officers being fired and held accountable, and along with the city council and the city manager actually taking some of this money and putting it somewhere else where people do not die when you call them for help, we're asking the community to stand with us. And I hope people can see today that this is not everybody that's supposed to be here, but the black and brown community are together. LULAC, Arte, Just Liberty is here. We are here together because we have to come together and fight this fight and fight this system so we can create this new world where everybody can be saved. So again, you know, I hope everybody is doing everything they can to keep Mike Ramos in their prayers and thoughts and in their mind. And we have a lot of work to do. So I hope the city hears us. I hope the community hears us, because we must get justice for Mike Ramos.
Spanish off the record.
I mean, yeah.
Lupita, assistant.